Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here, along with the chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Chris Miller, and the director of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Colin Mosley. Welcome, fellow freedom fighters, to the Tuesday night edition of Truth, Logic, and Common Sense as we are in the relentless pursuit of the before mentioned. Good evening, gentlemen. Chris, what's going on?
Well, good evening there, Brother Albick. It's been a lovely day here in East Central Illinois, and we're celebrating the start of spring. We're celebrating CO2 that will green the earth if we will just have enough sense to leave it alone. We're getting ready to start calving here pretty quick and getting equipment ready to plant corn and soybeans, and so there's never a dull moment.
Yeah, well, and with spring comes rain, and with rain comes some storms once in a while. We had kind of a bumpy weekend around Illinois, Central Illinois, East Central Illinois. Saturday night, I should say early Saturday morning, and kind of damaged the school over in Cumberland County in the town of Neoga. Director Mosley, how's things in your neighborhood? Did you guys survive the storms okay?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was a lot better than expected. In Clay County, the last few storms, it seems like about 100 miles out, the dome has went up and it's gone right around us. So we're thankful for that, for sure. Not complaining at all, but we were pretty lucky. Got a little windy, not quite as windy as some of our comrades in Springfield, but pretty windy, and we survived the night. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was it put us in the basement about 11:30, and I came up there. That storm was kind of right in the heat. I decided to come up and look out the window, and the rain was just in sheets going sideways. I hadn't seen it like that for a while, but it was coming down pretty hard there for a while. So we survived, thankfully. I put a new roof on last fall, and I thought for sure the first chance it had, it'd hail it out. Just after anyhow. Gentlemen, let's get kind of talking about the week ahead. This is going to be kind of a tumultuous week. We're scheduled to be there, all the way through Friday. It's committee deadline week, so a lot of committees scheduled. Then we want to talk about this really crazy Democrat bill about how they want to treat sex offenders less lenient, I guess, for lack of a better term. So with that, Director Mosley, let's just go to the first slide. So again, lots of committees scheduled this week. They've got them scheduled basically every 2 hours. We really haven't done a lot of committee action. I mean, I think my numbers here are showing that we've done about 190 bills out of committee in the last 2 weeks. Now, we've had some previous 2 weeks of that, I think, Colin, but not a lot of bills had done in the first 2 weeks. Some committees hadn't even met the first 2 weeks. And so here we are. But a point that I want to make here, and you guys have seen it in your respective committees, is a lot of these bills, they needed amendment. And we're going to get this bill out and hold it on second reading, but we'll be back to committee with another amendment. Half or 2/3 of the bills that I've seen in committee are that way. What's it like in your area?
Well, I know that once again, we're pretending like this is deadline week, like we're up against some automatic stop if this doesn't get done. And we know that we've seen this movie before. We have all kinds of procedural maneuvering. So this is really not deadline week, and we may waive the rules or waive the posting. You name it, we may gut and replace. It's just hard to say when it comes to shenanigans. These guys are the experts.
Right.
I think it's common to see. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Well, when you have the majorities, you write the rules as you want them. And then if you don't like those rules, you just suspend the rules. And we'll see committee deadline extensions. There'll be all kinds of procedural moves in the rules that they've written over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to start shoving stuff in. And, this is all by design. They put up these false, manufactured deadlines to give themselves an excuse. I think they tell their own lies enough that they start to believe them, because when you put up a deadline for Friday, it gives them an excuse to say, oh, well, we've got to pack this stuff in here and just roll right through. And it makes it hard for the media to report on what's going on. It makes it hard on us to report what's going on. It makes it hard for you, the listeners, the people of Illinois, to follow along, because they are intentionally shoving this stuff in committee after committee, 2, 4, 6, 8 p.m. And to Brad's point, what they'll eventually do, not only this week but in May, is they'll operate on a recessed roll call. So they'll have the committee already established, and then with a 1 hour notice, drop a gut and replace amendment, and we'll see a brand new bill with an hour's notice at 8:00 at night. This is transparency in Springfield, right?
Right. Well, in one maneuver I saw last week, I think it was Energy Committee, Chris, that we stood on what do they call that? Stood at ease for nearly 20 minutes
Yeah.
as they subbed new members in and out because there was members that didn't want to vote for a Democrat bill, and they subbed in other Democrats to vote for the bill to get it out of committee.
And you know that has to be a real bad bill when you have Democrats that don't want to vote for something
Right.
that they let get on in the committee anyway in the first place.
Right. Well, as of Monday late, there was 4,024 bills that had been filed in the House, about an even 70-30 Republican or Democrat-Republican split. But of the ones that were getting assigned to committee, which was just barely over 1,500, there was about an 80-20 split. But of the 190 that just got out of committee the last 2 weeks, 10% or only 20 of those bills were Republican bills. So that ratio tends to taper off fairly fast there as far as how many Republican bills are getting actually moved.
Right. Well, and some of the bills that they're being called are pet projects or technical language changes. I mean, and not to diminish some of the bills that your colleagues are passing, but that's just the reality is of that 20% of Republican bills, I would say probably half of those are technical language changes or pet projects. There are very few, bills of any substance that they're going to allow to have, especially in districts where they want to beat out of office. So, and you mentioned the House numbers. I put the Senate image on here too, because the Senate's doing the same thing this week, and you're going to see another few hundred bills in that side of the chamber. Then, of course, they'll eventually cross over, and we'll see them, and they'll see ours, and it's going to be just a pretty intense week.
Well, and I think the other thing is one of the most needed things in the state is meaningful property tax reform. There was a property tax task force that was reestablished last year, and but there's like 40 plus property tax bills, and I bet by the end of the week they'll all be in subcommittee to never be seen or heard from again this spring session. That's
Right.
where things go to die. So
Right.
That's one thing that we have learned over time is anytime they form a task force or a subcommittee, you can bet that this is smoke and mirrors. They're creating the illusion that they care and creating the illusion that they're going to do something to fix the what used to be the American dream was home ownership and real estate ownership. Now it's the American nightmare if you happen to be a property owner here in the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you got for us next there, Director? Have we covered that slide?
Yeah, I think so. We'll move on now to this crazy Democrat bill.
Well, and that's one thing, guys, that we are not short on is crazy Democrat bills. And this is a Senate bill from the Queen of the Senate, Kimberly Lightford. And Chris, why would they want to reduce the distance that sex offenders have to stay away from schools and daycares, the youngsters of our society? Why would they decrease that distance by half from 500 feet to 250 feet? Wonder what the logic is there.
Well, as we know that they're always doing things to make things easier for the sex offender and harder for the parents that are trying to protect their kids from these perverts of actually being able to protect them. It seems like that they're in cahoots together.
Yeah. This is totally on par for the Democrats. I mean, you think about their agenda, to Chris's point. They want to let men and women's locker rooms. They devalue life from the womb to the tomb. They want to let kids transition their gender at 11. So, and what they're doing, Brad, they're wrapping this up like they always do. They're going to take this and they're going to make it about housing access, right? Mm-hmm. There must be a sex offender housing desert because they're going to take
That's an excellent point you make there. The old desert got us again.
That's right. I mean, they're going to make this about housing accessibility, and instead your kids are going to be less safe.
Right. Well, it's bizarre, and I talked about this on the House floor about how the Democrats have been in charge for 4 decades or more, and yet we have all these deserts, right? We have healthcare deserts, we have housing deserts, we have grocery store deserts, daycare deserts. I mean, Chris, the list goes on and on. I think you spoke about it. I think others have spoke about the numbers of these deserts, and like the Democrats have been in charge. Why do we have all these deserts?
I don't know, but I heard today that there was a desert down at SIU, and a professor was taking things into his own hands.
Yeah, wow, that's that's all over
Literally
social
and
media.
literally and metaphorically. We're looking forward to hearing from SIU Carbondale this week in committee.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. Speaking about Democrat bills, I know this isn't on your slide, but let's just swerve into this a little bit. Ann Williams, the environmentalist, a
Wacko.
environmentalist forerunner in the House, led the CO2, the carbon capture and sequestration bill last year. That was a flawed bill from the word go. But anyhow, she's got a bill that will ban natural gas by 2050.
Oh my.
And sets up all kinds of standards that there has to be a 4% decline in usage in a short period of time. So basically, it sets up all kinds of standards for natural gas appliances. I mean, the list that this thing of these things that is in this bill that it does is just boy, I think you could put a man on the moon easier than trying to get this natural gas ban in place. But this is what the Democrat majority party likes to do, is in this idea of they're trying to make life better for Illinoisans, better for Americans. They just make it exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that they come up with stuff like this when Illinois is broke and people are leaving, and they just want to continue to regulate more people out of the state of Illinois. I mean, our electric costs are out of control right now, and we all know that natural gas is one of the cleanest burning fuels that has ever been known to man, and to just continue to double down on bad ideas just blows my mind. What Illinois really needs is some serious structural reforms that actually make life better. But it's like you said earlier, it seems like everything that we do is, bottom line, is attack on the middle class, because it doesn't really affect the working poor because they're taken care of. And it doesn't really affect the uber rich like our beloved governor, because he makes billions of dollars and he could care less what a BTU of gas costs or what a gallon of milk costs, or even a dozen eggs. And obviously this has not impacted his grocery bill as we see the current state of affairs.
Yeah, exactly. And Colin, I think it was just last week or a week before that, the Pollution Control Board went before a committee or just announced some stuff that would basically outlaw gasoline and diesel trucks of basically all sizes. Would put some bans on them that they would have to be eliminated, half of them by 2035, and the rest of them, I think, outlawed by 2050 or something like that. I just don't understand where the electrical vehicle replacements are going to come from. We see that Rivian, that makes a small size pickup, losing $90-some thousand on every vehicle that they deliver. I just don't know how they think the market is going to react. And there's not enough other people's money to subsidize this activity to the level they want to have it.
Well, and you've seen other major auto manufacturers roll back their EV production too. I mean, Ford's F-150 Lightning went over like a lead balloon. These people must not ever venture to central and southern Illinois, where most people are. I mean, you go to any family farm and you're driving 10 and 15-year-old pickups and SUVs and old tractors, and I mean, it's just absurd to think that this is all about the California emission standards compliance, and that they want to be like California. We saw that bill last year, and it's filed again. And as far as the natural gas stuff goes, these people must just not ever pay a utility bill or look at their utility bill. Anybody who's paying a utility bill in the last 2 years would run away from this stuff because it's increased. I know my bill's gone up. My grandparents' bill has gone up dramatically. Nobody who's paying a utility bill is on board with this garbage of making their rates go up in the name of fake science.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and this business about natural gas, I mean, as data centers and demand for electricity increases, which it is, the demand for electricity is continuing to grow. The alternatives are not keeping up, and coal is being phased out. So the only viable alternative in there is to add natural gas, and natural gas usage is increasing. And there are a couple of bills that I think are going to get heard this week that are favorable to nuclear power. So of the bright spot, or of all the dark spots there are a couple of bright spots, hopefully to maybe bring nuclear power back onto the forefront in Illinois. It's just they're going to have to do something because this is a math equation that just doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
All
it's
right.
very true.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna agree with you that we have to do something to promote common sense solutions to the high energy price, because our lifestyle is depending upon cheap, affordable, reliable energy, and we've gone down this green bad deal scam and lied to the people and convinced them we're all going to die, which is totally not true. And that over time, that will prove that. We've actually proven that over time, as we've seen 41 predicted climate crises since 1967, and zero have happened. Zero have even come close to happen. So you can conclude, if you are a thinking, blood pumping an American, that this is all a scam, and that's the only conclusion that you could come to if you are involved in truth, logic, and common sense.
Exactly. Well, Director Mosley, as we kind of close this time of conservative chatter around the conservative campfire, I know you've got the slide up there how to find us and our communication tool that we use there on the Substack. Any thoughts there about what's going on in your field this evening?
Like we've said, just stay engaged and stay aboard. We've got a major few weeks. We're looking to fight against this radical homeschool regulation bill on Wednesday. We've got other bills and committees that attack your gun rights, assisted suicide, all of these things. So it's important that you stay engaged every week, but this week especially as we head into a committee deadline. And we hope that you will partner with us in the fight for freedom.
Right. And late on Monday, to that point about the HB 2827, over 31,000 witness slips had been filed in opposition, 700 and some proponents. So that's on the agenda for Wednesday morning. And then next Tuesday, the 25th, is Walk for Life. We want to remind everybody about that, to be in Springfield if they can for Walk for Life, and to reach out to their respective organizations to find out, or let us know if we need to help you navigate any of that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's close out for the evening. Thank you for joining us. And always, we appreciate that you would like, share, subscribe, and follow our content to help us overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. And with that, Director Mosley, if you'll hit the out music, we'll say good night.